After 3 years without proper rainfall, close to 20 million people across East Africa are facing starvation due to drought. This is according to the UN's World Food Programme. Widespread locust infestations in 2020, which destroyed crops, have worsened the current food crisis. In our next report, we take a closer look at the conditions in which people are living in the drought-stricken region.
As each week passes without rain, families like Dennis Musias are finding it increasingly hard to survive. They live in Kitui County, a few hundred kilometers east of the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Earlier this year, the UN's Environment Programme said that particular parts of Kenya, Somalia, Djibouti and Ethiopia are experiencing the driest conditions and hottest temperatures since satellite record-keeping began. Moreover, according to the 2022 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, climate change means the situation can only worsen, with water shortages, the failure of agriculture and the resulting loss of life. The report says that the African continent as a whole contributes just 3% of global emissions. Yet at the same time, it says that the continent is unfairly bearing the heaviest burden of climate change, with heat waves, drought and other catastrophic weather events. In Kenya alone, 4.1 million people require food assistance and 1.1 million of this are in emergency situation, says the WFP. Musia's family has experienced 3 consecutive years with little rain. Rising food prices and shortages are forcing many like Musia into the forests to hunt and scavenge for fruit and meat to feed their families. Musia wakes up early every morning to set traps for whatever he can catch. An antelope or a gazelle would be welcome, but he says he's grateful for whatever he comes by.
I venture into the forest scavenging for whatever is available. May it be a gazelle, hare, honey badger, antelope or any animal snared by my traps. In case I don't get any, I pass by the wild fruits like baobabs and collect some so that we can boil them and just fill the stomach.
Musia says there's more pressure on biodiversity and the local environment because more families are grabbing whatever food they can.
These wild animals are having a tough time because they are now being used as the only source of food. Because if you can't afford food and wild fruits are exhausted, you will enter into the forest and the wild animals will be at risk of extinction. And this may not be good for the ecosystem.
The World Food Programme says the number of people seeking emergency assistance in the region over the last couple of years has grown by millions, especially those who live in areas known as arid and semi-arid lands. Back in the Kitui County, it's lunchtime for the Musia family. Dennis's wife, Rhoda Musia, makes whatever she can from what is brought home.
Now we no longer seek to meet our dietary requirements. Whatever my husband brings from the forest is what we eat. We just boil and eat what's there at the end of the day. We're waiting for the rains, and if they fail, we have no other option. And while still we don't have seeds to plant.
For this family and many others, there is no real hope in sight. The World Food Programme says the experiences of the Musia family is being repeated across East Africa.
Close to 20 million people will soon be impacted on with the drought situation. The numbers are growing.
The future looks bleak for the countries across East Africa. With the failure of annual rain, millions of people have been forced to leave their homes in search of food and water for survival. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.